We're going to start with a Brian T tweet, but we're going to finish with me talking about why I think in 2025, that's kind of going to be the year, the pivotal year for NIO to have its imprint on truly revolutionizing the smart EV industry, starting in China, but eventually going global. I'll get to that in a minute. First off, this is from Brian T. He says, NIO's Onvo L60 proves one thing, that Tesla was selling very simple EVs that were being marketed in a way that was pure genius. Despite having one of the most boring driver's cockpits of any four-wheeled vehicle, Tesla was able to convince people to pay $45,000 to $60,000 for their Model 3s and Model Ys. People paid more for less. So what did NIO do? It went out and built the same kind of car. Same very boring, simple, no frills, and minimalistic feel. Only they're selling it at half the price of a Tesla, starting at just $21,000. The Onvo is giving everyday drivers a chance to own a similar vehicle, but with the most advanced battery swapping tech available. If these cars ever make it to US shores, I guess you can see why the need for 100% tariffs on Chinese EVs. Bold words from Brian, but you know what? I gotta say, and I mentioned this in a video the other day, this is the first sub-brand that NIO is coming out with, and this is the affordable car market is where NIO is now targeting. The NIO brand is the premium market, and that sort of sub-segmented piece of the market is the slowest in China to move over from gas to pure EVs. But more on that in a little bit, because right now, it blows me away to think that we're in the US and we can't get access to a vehicle like this that we could perhaps purchase for about $21,000. That's US dollars. But it's very quiet. I'm not seeing a whole lot of folks here in the Western world talking about Onvo yet. So that's something I'll keep tracking. And again, that links and kind of ties in with my thought that I'll cover at the end of the video. This is what William Lee said. He said that orders from the Onvo L60 have surged, increasing server capacity 5-fold. The L60 production capacity is as follows: 5,000 October, 10,000 December, 16,000 in January, March 20,000. This is consistent with what he had told us in the recent earnings call, second quarter earnings call, which was on September 5th. He talked about hopefully getting to that 20,000 number in the year of 2025 for deliveries for Onvo. I'm very happy with that. Regarding the question of choosing NIO or Onvo, William Lee Bin of NIO responded, if your budget allows, go for NIO. After all, there's a price difference of over 100,000 RMB between the two. If you're asking this question, you should probably buy NIO. Our bottom line is that as long as they buy from us, it's fine. Onvo's sales team has helped NIO sell nearly 1,000 cars. This is something I talked about before in previous videos. If you didn't know, I said, some folks are thinking that Onvo is going to cannibalize NIO sales. It actually could help drive more sales to NIO. And that's consistent with my long-term view. If you look at the bottom of the screen, not on the ticker, but the three major growth phases, the first three for NIO, as I identified them a few years ago, the first one is market awareness. The brand has to be known. Even within its home country of China, NIO's a startup. And the premium brand of NIO has really been targeting the affluent buyer, roughly 40,000 and above on the USD price range side of things. And so that is just not in the same segment where they're now priced with Onvo. Later, they're coming out with Firefly, which will be even more affordable. That's in 2025. And yes, that ties in with what I'm going to talk about at the end of the video. But I love the fact that this is a bit of a validation in my mind that not only is Onvo going to help NIO, I think later Firefly will also help NIO, because I believe we're still in the first major growth phase for NIO, even within China, market awareness. And that means we have more time. That means it's probably even earlier than I thought. And I am very happy about that. I have always viewed this as a long-term play, and I don't mind being early. I prefer to be early rather than late. But let's move on now, because it's time to talk a little data. Let's crunch some data. Now, this is as of August 2024, battery electric vehicle models. And this is the only one that NIO has placing at this point with the ES6. Now, a couple of points that I want to make. There is only one vehicle. There's only one model on this top 20 chart that has battery swapping capabilities, and that is NIO's vehicle, the ES6. Now, in the future, and I believe that with Onvo and then Firefly, between the flexible price point and the value upfront to the consumer in being able to do things like battery as a service, where they don't have to pay for the battery. They don't have to worry about insuring the battery or the vehicle losing all of its value if the battery goes bad. And they can also just rent and then have access to, as Brian T said, basically the best battery technology that's out there. This is phenomenal. This part of the business plan is actually what I've got as the third major growth phase for NIO, BaaS, battery as a service. And I had said I want to wait and see what everything looks like when there are 1 million of the NIO, the premium NIO sales out there done cumulatively. We've got a ways to go, but in the meantime, Onvo and Firefly under the NIO umbrella, it's going to put more eyes on NIO. I love this. I love the positioning of NIO. And until NIO's partners start coming out with other battery swappable vehicles, NIO and Onvo and Firefly are the only vehicles out there that are going to be doing that. And that's part of why that 2025 alignment, I think, is really pivotal. It's really important because I do think when we start talking about the broader market, and this is just in China, I'm not even talking global yet. In China, check this out. The blue represents ICE or gas sales. We've got over 200,000, almost 200,000, almost 150,000 because they're not quite all blue. Some of them are NEVs, which is the orange. You've got almost another 150,000. Basically, if we run these numbers, the blue, just the gas sales, we're talking about easily 1 million sales that will go somewhere else in the future, either orange or blue. I said blue, I meant green. Orange or green. Green being the battery electric vehicles. Now, let me ask you this. How many of the brands, how many of these models are delivering battery swappable models? Not one. So the top 20 are going to look different in the future. Why? Because at some point, consumers are going to realize, they're going to recognize the value of the vehicle shell does not stay consistent and aligned with the battery unless they have the battery swapping potential, that capability. And NIO, with just the premium brand, wasn't getting enough market penetration for everyone to figure this out. But as they now have partners helping them, and I think, again, in 2025, we're going to see more infrastructure build out of power swap stations, which again puts more eyes on the brand. Again, consistent with my first major growth phase, market awareness, the brand still has to be known. You're going to have Onvo, you're going to have Firefly. Look, this is my big picture overview, is just looking at these numbers. Here's the other thing. If we want to talk NIO and the NIO brand, for example, Audi with its A6, over 100,000, 114,000 sales, but all of those are going somewhere else in the future. Who's taking those sales? The German brands, BMW, Audi, Mercedes, as far as I can tell, I don't have all the updated data. My guesstimate is they are still dominating about 80% of the premium sales in China. And that's with their ICE vehicle sales, because NIO is outselling all three of them combined for just pure battery electric vehicles. I still think it's early. I think 2025 becomes a pivotal year because of the release of NIO, with both the Onvo L60 deliveries ramping and then Firefly following that. And then whenever, and I don't know what the cadence is, I don't know who's going to come first into the market as far as their partners with battery swappable vehicles, but I am telling you, I think we're really early. Those of us who have been on this NIO train for a while, I think we're super, super ridiculously early. I don't think a lot of people are really, truly aware of this yet. Leave you with one final thought. Tesla and BYD are dominating market share in China for NEVs, but neither of them has a battery swappable vehicle. At some point, when customers, consumers, the users realize they don't need to overpay for something where they can't have a swappable battery, will those companies pivot? Will they realize? Will they be late? Will they do it sooner? Or will they not do it at all? And how much will it damage their market share positioning if they don't adopt battery swap? That's all I got for this one. Have a great day. I'll see y'all again very soon.